Porphyria cutanea tarda. T-A-R-D-A. Must be Latin. Disorder characterized by liver dysfunction. So if any veterans have had liver dysfunction, any problems with your liver, it may be from Agent Orange. And by thinning and blistering of the skin in sun-exposed areas. So, this is something I know a little bit about, because Vietnam veterans, you think, oh, gee, you know, I was out in the sun and I got a little blister here. Yeah, that's not normal. You know, little tiny blister marks that have to be treated. You know, today they usually freeze them. But that's not from being out in the sun. That's from Agent Orange. Under VA's rating regulations, it must be at least 10% disabling within 1 year of exposure of herbicides. So this is like the third thing in here about this 10% disabling. This is a way that the VA gets away with not recognizing your claim. Because did you have this when you got out? Did you know, yeah, you had it when you got out. You didn't know because it's a progressive type of thing. It may have, you just thought that, you know, it was a real minor thing at the time, but now it's, you know, 300 Vietnam veterans die each day. Out of the 3.4 million that went to Vietnam, less than 500,000 still alive. Those are the statistics on the government website. Prostate cancer. Cancer of prostate, one of the most common cancers among men. So, prostate cancer. So they might say, oh, you know, you're 70 years old, you got prostate cancer. That's normal, but it is a recognized disease by the VA. And the veterans in Congress, like John Tester in the Senate, they fight with the VA in DC all the time, and their attitude is that the VA needs to disprove. And how do they do that? They can't. They need to disprove that your prostate cancer wasn't from Agent Orange. Well, they don't have any research, so how are they going to disprove it? You know, Vietnam veterans and their families and their children and their grandchildren, they need to be informed. You need to stand up, do something, call your senators, call your congressmen. And you don't have to, if you're a Republican, you don't just need to call Republican congressmen and senators. Call them all, call everyone in your state. They all work for you. Doesn't matter what party. You know, get their phone number off the government website and call them. Say, hey, we need help. Respiratory cancers, including lung cancer. Cancers of the lung, the larynx, the trachea, and bronchitis. Bronchicus. B-R-O-N-C-H-U-S. So, lung cancer, larynx, trachea, you know what that is. T-R-A-C-H-E-A, trachea, and bronchius, B-R-O-N-C-H-U-S. So many Vietnam veterans have had lung cancer, larynx cancer, trachea cancer. You know, it's because when you're in country or if you were in the Navy, the water you drank came from the oceans and rivers in Vietnam, even though the salt water, it was all purified, turned into drinking water, water to cook with, water to bathe with. So in drinking water while you were in Vietnam, no matter where you were drinking this forever chemical known as Agent Orange, because you can't get rid of it. You can purify the water all you want. You can boil it. It doesn't get rid of the Agent Orange. That's a fact. Academia, science, the medical community, engineering community, they will tell you that. Okay. Number 14, soft tissue sarcomas. Other than osteocarcinoma, I know what this is. Osteocarcinoma. These are all carcinomas. Osteosarcoma. Well, anyhow, there's some exemptions here. All carcinomas, mesotheliomas. The VA is saying no, 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 no. But soft tissue sarcomas, a group of different types of cancers in body tissue such as muscle, fat, blood, lymph vessels, and connective tissues. So to sum up all 14 diseases recognized by the VA and the U.S. government, they all pretty much attack your blood system, your tissues, whether it's your bladder, your heart, your liver, your lungs, nervous system, all the internal organs in your body. One way or another are attacked and destroyed partially, totally. Affects everybody differently. So those are the 14. Now, right now, John Tester, this goes back to 2016, 2 years ago, when David Shulkin said he would add 4 more diseases. And these 4 diseases are recognized by academia studies of scientists, engineers, and medical doctors. And bladder cancer. Now, this is a real killer. 300,000 veterans. Now keep in mind, there's only 500,000 less than 500,000 Vietnam veterans still alive. This is very troubling. And this is one of the reasons that the VA is fighting this. 2 years ago, they said they were going to add this. And David Shulkin, who was the VA secretary at the time, said he would, never did. Okay? Just slow rolled. Congress, the Senate, all the veterans organizations. So 300,000 that go to the VA have been diagnosed with bladder cancer. So what is that? 75–80% of the ones still alive have been diagnosed with some form of bladder cancer? And I know veterans that I served with, some of them officers, they've had bladder cancer and they have survived, because they went through chemo and everything. They filed a claim with the VA, but because the VA currently does not recognize bladder cancer, these veterans get no compensation, no medical care, nothing from the VA. Now, the reason they were diagnosed at the VA is because generally they have something else going on. They've gone to the VA, and the VA says, oh, yeah, we'll give you 10%, 20% for whether it's PTSD or the ringing in the ears from the concussions and stuff like that. And then they find out you have bladder cancer, and they just chalk it off to, you're old. That's not the case. 300,000 diagnosed with bladder cancer. That should scare the Jesus out of everybody that's still alive. It is something that's survivable if it's diagnosed properly and early. And there are reports, it's been in the news, it's no secret that, isolated incidences, but there's veterans who've gone to the VA, had tests done, and the VA never told them that they had lung cancer, bladder cancer, and then the veteran, months later ends up being stage 4. Can't help them then. And it's been exposed that VA knew. They knew when he had stage 1, stage 2. There's a problem here. But we're not going to tell him. We're going to let him die. That sounds crazy. That is crazy. The second one here is the hyperthyroid. So thyroid disease. It's treatable. Creates a lot of problems if it's not diagnosed. But that's one that was supposed to be added 2 years ago. And here's the one that really, they put this towards the bottom of the list because this is the one that so many Vietnam veterans are suffering from, and that's Parkinson's-like tremors. So it's little tremors, dropping stuff, numbness, and it's not full-blown Parkinson's disease, but that's why they call it Parkinson's-like tremors. That was supposed to be added 2 years ago, 2016. Didn't happen. And then hypertension, the high blood pressure. So all these years, I mean, you had veterans 25, 30, 40 years old taking high blood pressure medicine, not because they were overweight or anything. It's because they had hypertension. Oh, you're hyper. You need to get your blood pressure down. Well, statistics show that Vietnam veterans, high rate of high blood pressure, way more than when you put that data up against the rest of the 300 million people in this country, that 1% of military with high blood pressure. So John Tester, in December 2019, a few weeks ago, he sent a letter to the current head of the VA, and told him, you got 30 days to add these things. So we don't know what's going to happen. We won't know until first or second week of January 2020 whether they actually added these things, because even the new secretary, his name escapes me right now, I think it's Robert something, but anyhow, he when he took over, he said, oh yeah, we'll add these, some time ago. Oh yeah, we're going to, don't worry about it, we're going to. No, they're not going to add these, especially the Parkinson's-like tremors, because then they would have to approve thousands and thousands of claims. So, and then there's the Blue Water Navy thing. Action, we don't know if any action will really be taken. This is a new bill they passed. It's to put it into law. And what they're saying is, okay, those ships, aircraft carriers, destroyers, oilers, ammunition ships, helicopter platforms, and the U.S. Navy off the shore of Vietnam for sometimes up to a year, and close inshore, 1,800 yards off the beach in North Vietnam, whether it was air support or ship-to-shore bombardment. They're pulling water up that was diluted with Agent Orange in the ocean, in the Gulf of Tonkin. Agent Orange. So we drank it. We ate food that was prepared with it. So anyhow, that's what I've got right now, and I hope it was informative. Hope you can pass this information on to other veterans, and just about trying to save the lives of Vietnam veterans that are left. So this segment was all about Agent Orange and Vietnam veterans, and shame on the VA, shame on Congress, shame on the Senate, shame. They make the laws, they appropriate the money. And I'm just going to add that this privatization of the VA, it may work for a few veterans. You may have had a good experience with going to a doctor on the outside for something minor. But when it comes to Agent Orange, or amputees, or brain injuries, or PTSD, it doesn't work going to the outside. Plus, my experience, 50-some years in the VA medical system, when you do get an appointment with a doctor or specialist, and it's 9:30, 10 o'clock,